Welcome back to the Rhino Show. I'm your host, Austin, and as always, I'm joined by Danny.
What's going on, guys?
And this week, we're joined by the one, the only, Kevin Smith.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
So, Kevin, I'm sure everyone knows about you because you're kind of a celebrity, a big deal around here. So, tell everyone a little bit about yourself and how you got into politics.
Well, I've always been interested in politics in one way or the other. Right after college, I started working in local politics. I got an internship up in Albany, the state capital in New York, and really got to see how the sausage got made. And I was always fascinated in the sort of culture war issues. Then I'd say about 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, it was when the riots were happening at Berkeley with Ben Shapiro and Milo Yiannopoulos and Coulter. And I remember being very confused. Berkeley is the home of free speech. So why were college liberals now abandoning that principle? Why were they now saying, this is we're not going to listen to people talk? And it really shook me in a serious way. Then about 3 years ago, Sean Farish and myself came together at a Trump rally and decided that we were going to start to really energize people around the 2020 election. Uh, we basically started doing car parades all over Long Island. The first one was 300. The second one was 2,000, then 5,000, 10,000, 20,000. The biggest one we had was 35,000 people going the length of Long Island, which is it was about 80 miles. The rally went from one end to the other. We did a rally down Fifth. We did a car parade down Fifth Avenue in Manhattan in front of Trump Tower. And then we sort of parlayed that into local elections, local school boards, and really put some hustle behind all these numbers we had. And what we were able to do with that, we were able to flip school board seats all over Long Island, and we parlayed that into local elections where we were able to win back the county legislature here in Suffolk County and flip the district attorney seat, which was crucial and very important. If you guys have been watching the news, it was the Suffolk County district attorney who decided to help, who decided to put more energy into the Gilgo Beach killings, which had been dormant on Long Island for quite some time. Those killings they went cold about 10 years ago. No one really knew what happened, but this district attorney Ray Tierney, he said he was going to reopen that case and do what needed to be done to bring justice for those young women. And they just in the last couple of weeks we were able to see that happen. Then we took that sort of energy, brought it into the governor's race in 2022. Obviously, it didn't go our way. Lee Zeldin came up a little bit short, but 47% of the vote in New York, in a state that lost 400,000 voters over the course of the last 2 years during COVID, was a pretty good turnout. And we were able to win back the House majority and really energize people that had either never been involved in politics or that maybe wouldn't have voted Republican in the first place. So we were able to really bring in the stay-at-home moms, the young people like yourselves, and we really energized the whole coalition of voters. And I'm excited about 2024 and beyond.
Yeah, and one thing I respect about you is it's all about the local community, and I know you do that
Mhm.
very well. So you said you did all these car rallies and stuff, and you flipped school boards, and so when you first started, like brought up with Sean, I was in a conversation recently when we were all down for the Turning Point event, and on the flight
Mhm.
home, I was talking to somebody, and they're like, "I'm thinking about doing my own podcast." But the thing is, a lot of people quit when they don't see numbers right away, and things like this
Mhm.
take a while. So you can't. And my advice was, you can't quit. It's going to take time. Just like school boards, you're not going to flip it overnight. We're not
Mhm.
going to change our country back overnight. This is taking a
Mhm.
while to get to where we're at. So can you speak on that? Like what? How long did it take before you start seeing progress, and what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I would tell anybody that if they want to go back, and I'm sure you guys are all familiar with Joe Rogan, go back and look at Joe Rogan's first shows. They were in his basement. They were you can't even see. The audio is terrible. The video is terrible. It's just him and his friends goofing off. And I tell people this all the time is that if you're doing something for the right reasons, it will come about. I don't do a podcast because I want a podcast. I do a podcast because I want to inform people. And that's the same thing with Rogan. Look, just take him. He's the biggest podcast in the world for a reason. And it's because if you don't like someone he has on, you don't watch. He doesn't cater to a base, and you're not going to either, particularly people your age, because I'm sure everyone has a podcast. How many could you possibly watch if all your friends have them? The big thing is to just keep plugging away, keep plugging away. You don't, Kobe Bryant didn't remember how many, shots he took in the gym. All you saw were the ones that he made on the court, buzzer beaters, and that's what it is. If you do 500 podcasts, maybe you'll land one big guest, but it'll be on that 500th one. So I would tell people to just keep plugging away and don't stop, because if you're in it for the right reasons, it will come about on its own.
Yeah, for sure. I like that. And I know you and Danny met for the first time down
We
at
did.
Turning Point.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Danny told you, but he is a big Chris Christie fan. So, Danny, tell Kevin why you love Chris Christie so much.
Yeah, Austin. Yeah, I think he missed out on the Turning Point event because that Saturday was the 86 cents for a dozen donuts at Krispy Kreme. So I think that's why, Chris Christie didn't show. But yeah, big into all the presidential candidates here, and I wanted to get your thoughts on DeSantis, who keeps tanking in the polls. He's burning through cash more than really any candidate we've seen in a while. So yeah, just wanted to see what your thoughts were on that.
Well, it is interesting to see the DeSantis thing. And look, full disclosure, I have met Ron DeSantis. He was very kind to me. I met him when he came up to campaign for Lee Zeldin. He was very nice. On a one-on-one, he seemed okay. But we have a saying here in New York is that I don't hate the Yankees. I hate Yankee fans. It's almost like I feel like most people don't dislike Ron DeSantis as much as they dislike the people that are out there pulling for him. The Christina Pushaws and the Jenna Ellises and the Matt Tiermans and Pedro Gonzalez. These are insufferable people. They're awful people. And I'm sorry, but if your comms team is losing you ground in the polls and you don't tell them, hey, whatever you're doing, cut it out, then you know what? Maybe you don't deserve to be president, because Donald Trump controls the message. He is the message. There is nothing that comes out of his camp that is not coming from him. And I think that's why you're seeing the rise of people like Vivek Ramaswamy, because he seems to be authentic. I don't mean truthful. I don't mean real. I mean authentic. Young guy out there just giving out some ideas. Let's see what's going on. He gets the new world that we're in. A guy like Ron DeSantis seems to be, he's campaigning for the 2024 presidency in 1992. And it's not working for him. And it should be working for him. I mean, look, he's got what you need, not a bad looking guy, got young kids, beautiful wife. He could pull that whole Kennedy sort of thing. He just isn't. And when you have everything on your side and you're not performing to the level you should be, that's a big red flag for me. Now, the other candidates, Isa Hutchinson. I mean, what are you doing? What are you doing? Doug Burgum. Like, you seem like a nice guy, but what are you doing? I don't know. Some of these people, like, what? I mean, Chris Christie is a different story, because Chris Christie is coming in to be DeSantis's wrecking ball.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to take all the shots at Trump so that DeSantis doesn't have to. He's going to be the shield for Ron DeSantis.
That's a big shield.
That's a big ass. You ain't getting none. You ain't getting none past that. And I'm allowed to say that because I am also a rather thick man from the Northeast. He's bigger, much bigger, the size of the George Washington Bridge, but the bridge he shut down.
Oh yeah.
During Hurricane Sandy, unless local mayors did his bidding for him. That guy. Come on, Chris. If you're going to be a corrupt New Jersey politician, be a little less cliche. But I don't know what some of these people are doing, and a lot of them are doing it to get cabinet positions. I think Tim Scott's in it to be vice president. But let's be honest here. I mean, if anyone surges in the polls, they're still 20 points down.
Oh,
And it's important. It's important to look at polls not as a national average because primaries don't run on a national average. You have to look at the individual states. You have to look at how they're doing in New Hampshire and Iowa and South Carolina and Nevada because we don't have an election. We have 50 elections in this country. And I think when you look at Iowa and New Hampshire, Trump's up 35, 40. Not even, I mean, it's not even close. And the more people that get into the race, the more it takes away from DeSantis. Because what they don't understand is that Trump doesn't have a bottom. There's 40% of the Republican base out there that say, if it's not Trump, I'm not voting. However, there is a large portion of the Republican base that would go against Donald Trump. And every time someone new comes into the race, that then takes away from the front runner, Ron DeSantis. And I think that's why we're seeing a jump in the poll from guys like Vivek Ramaswamy and even Mike Pence. But that's not really my concern.
oh, Mike Pence, what a guy. But like, I want to touch on DeSantis a little bit more because this race was handed for him to have at least a close race. Everything was going his way. It's almost like he intentionally had to screw it up this bad. Like we all know the Bushes, the Romneys, we all know the people he's hanging out with. We all know who was feeding him, telling him to run. You think like we know they're a bunch of losers, but you think they would be smart to be like, hey, maybe Pushaw isn't the best person. Maybe Jenna Ellis isn't the best person. Like it looks like they even intentionally screwed themselves over. Like they can't be this dumb. Like that's what screwed him in this election was the people he had representing him. Not like you said, not necessarily himself. Because like I said, he was a good governor. I think it was a little overhyped, but now he's a part-time governor.
Oh, yeah. So, well, first off, I don't understand how he can get away with, hey, I just ran for re-election. Now I'm going to take all that money I got from Florida voters to put it into my presidential campaign. I don't know how that's legal. It shouldn't be legal. But I am a big advocate, and this is not just for Ron DeSantis. This is for candidates across the spectrum, Republican, Democrat. I don't think you should be allowed to be an elected anything and run for a different seat. Because look, Kamala Harris ran for president while she was senator. How can you do the job of senator? Ron DeSantis running for president as governor. Bill de Blasio ran for president as the mayor of New York. I don't think you should be. Rand Paul ran as a senator. I don't think you should be allowed to do that. Because how the hell can you be doing the job when you're traveling all over the place? There's only 24 hours in a day, unless you're telling me that maybe you really don't do all that much, in which case I think a cut in pay would be nice. But, that's just that's the way I see things. I don't understand how you can be the governor of a state, the mayor of a city, particularly an executive in that sort of position, mayor of South Bend, Indiana. That actually is a job. We all know senators don't do anything. We all know the Congress people don't do anything, that it's all their staff. However, I think that we should probably, put a little bit more thought into who we allow to run, particularly because I think that would weed out the clown show. I think that would stop guys like Doug Burgum from running if he had to resign as governor of North Dakota. I think that would stop protest candidates from jumping into the race who just muddy things up, like Marco Rubio 7 years ago, like that Democratic field we saw.
Yeah,
I think it would clear out the clown show and it would get people into the race who actually wanted the job instead of just auditioning for a cabinet level position.
Yeah.
Now, it's a disgrace that I have to talk about this, but the Trump indictment, let's say that somehow they were able to take him off the ballot. What would be your opinion on what we should do? My thoughts are that Tucker should decide to jump in the race, but I just don't think any of the announced candidates can win. But what are your thoughts on all that? Obviously, we're praying it doesn't happen.
That would wow, I hadn't even considered that. Yeah, Tucker jumps into the race, becomes president, pardons Trump, appoints him as vice president, resigns.
Oh, that'd be great.
That way Tucker can go back to fly fishing or bow hunting, whatever the hell he does up there in the woods of Maine. I think that would be really interesting. I think if that happened, we would be in a real. We'd be. I think that if they were able to knock Trump off this ballot, this pains me to say it. I think there would be violence in the streets. And I don't want that to happen. I don't believe that should happen. However, I think people would not be able to handle themselves, and that would be the Fort Sumter moment.
Well,
So
I
to
think that's what they're looking for. I think they want to. Obviously, they tried to paint MAGA supporters and Trump supporters as that on January 6th, which we all know was a setup. But
yeah,
I'm going to try and do like January 6th 2.0 possibly, and
hmm
just try and destroy the MAGA base forever by trying to say that we're like domestic terrorists and all this. I
oh
feel
yeah,
like they're trying to stir people up, and this is what most of it's about.
oh absolutely. But it's you know, like I said, I'm not saying it's a good thing that it would happen, but I think people would be at their wits' end at that point. I think that whatever sort of democratic methods we would have would be out the window, and that I don't. There are a lot of people out there who, after 2020, advocated for stuff like that. And I don't think they really understood what that meant. I don't think people were like, we need martial law and all that crap. And I was like, no, no. You get martial law, you know what that means? That means the electricity doesn't turn on. That means there's guns in the street. That means that supermarket shelves stop being filled. You don't come back from that. That happens in third world countries.
Yeah, no government that's ever taken power from the people is ever going to give it back to the people.
A
So
100%. And I think that I do worry. Even I was down in New York City for the Bragg indictment, right outside the courthouse at Collect Pond Park with the New York City Young Republicans. They do great work. They are my downstate brethren here. And I looked at the president of the club, Gavin Wax, and I said, look, if they remand him to custody right now, what happens? And that was a very real possibility. He'd been charged with multiple felonies. They could have remanded him. He's definitely a flight risk. He's got his own plane. He can go wherever the hell he wants. Like, they could have remanded him.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, what happens then? And I was like, I don't have the answer to that, but it doesn't end well.
No. And one thing, like you said, they want us to act up. And listen, I'm not one to ever call for any kind of war or any kind of, violence or anything. Like, but there's only so much people will put up with, and they know that, and that's why they keep pushing these buttons. Because
Oh yeah.
they know if Trump isn't on the ballot and we get screwed over, and Biden or whoever's running gets put into office for 4 more years, they know, what are we going to do? We're going to stock with as much ammo and food as we can because we know it's about to be hell in this country. It's not
And
going to
go
get any better.
and go right into the woods.
Yeah, it's going to get ugly, and
Mhm.
people are going to brace for it and prepare for it, because if that happens, we don't know what's going to happen. We're not calling for violence, but we're just going to say, who knows what's actually going to happen if that
Well,
were to happen.
I worry because not so much because of us. I worry because all it takes is one. I'm sure there are many instances in which a person could think of riots or events or days that we don't talk about where it only took a handful of people to make a bad decision to smear the lot. And I think there would be people out there making very bad decisions. Like I said, it only takes one person doing something extreme, and then I am concerned about that. I think one person would lose their mind, and I think that's why it's up to people like us, leaders, whether it's with Turning Point chapters or organizations like mine or young Republican clubs. I think it's up to us to really keep everyone um, mellow and not let the extreme feelings we have. If you want to be a leader, you got to lead sometimes, and I think most people aren't really ready for that sort of responsibility.
Yeah, it's a situation not many saw coming not that long ago. So,
No,
and we
yeah,
all know all
this
it
is
takes is
a
one person, like a Ray
Mhm.
Epps to incite something. So,
exactly.
yeah, and this is the MAGA. It's more than just Donald Trump at this point. He started a full-on movement,
Mhm.
and if they take out Trump, they still haven't stopped the movement itself. So
Well,
they're looking for a way, I feel like, to try and just destroy the movement altogether.
look, you're starting to see just on small issues, whether it's Matt Gaetz and AOC coming together about a bill banning uh, members of Congress and the Senate from trading stocks. Is that a right wing? Is that a right wing thing or a left wing thing? No, I think it's a common sense thing. I think that there is a populism on the right and on the left that are really disrupting this sort of um, uniparty hold on the world. And I think people are starting to realize that just because you are of the right does not mean you will get defense from members of the right. I have I have 4 elected Republicans here on Long Island. I routinely make fun of 3 of them because they suck. Nick LaLota, Andrew Garbarino, and Anthony D'Esposito. You're terrible Congress people. You're awful Republicans. You're living in the wrong decade and you need to be primaried. Like, I don't think that many Republicans are ready for what they are bringing upon themselves by not supporting the America First movement, by not supporting the American people, by thinking it is okay to send money to Ukraine in any set of circumstances. I don't care about Ukraine. If Russia takes Kiev tomorrow, my life doesn't change. If all the Russians are pushed out of Ukraine tomorrow, my life also does not change. However, when I get off the train at Penn Station and I trip over someone shooting heroin between their toes, that does affect my life. And you know what? I'm not saying I have a solution for it, but I do know a better place to send $180 billion. Because guess what? Let's just say we brought that money home and we started a scholarship fund for poor kids in Appalachia. You don't think that would change this country? AOC and Bernie Sanders, they want to talk about Medicare for all and free college. Well, you know what? How about you stop voting to send $1.4 billion every year to Ethiopia, which we have done every year for the last 47 years? Has that country gotten any better? No. So why do we keep doing it? Why the hell are we sending? Why do we still have military bases in Germany? Are we worried about West Berlin falling? No, I think we've gotten past that. I think if we pulled back foreign aid, we could either A, pay off the debt, or B, maybe start to talk to some of the populists on the left and go, look, we've got this excess money. Let's spend it on our own people. I'm not saying Medicare for all. I'm not saying free college. However, maybe for poor kids or maybe for, I don't know, any sort of plan. We could talk about things that would affect our own people in this country rather than I don't know, funding every NGO around the world to provide abortions in Uzbekistan. I don't know why I need to pay for that.
Well, Kevin, buddy, that's not our concern. All right, this country isn't our concern, in the famous words of Mike Pence. So really, we just got to worry about everybody else because America is not our concern, right?
Oh yeah, I've never seen a career die so quickly. The last time I saw someone die that fast was when Chris Christie confronted Marco Rubio in the 2016 debate, and he goes, "There it is, everybody." The 30-second scripted answer, and Marco Rubio couldn't get off his talking points. But if you guys haven't seen that, go check out that clip because that is hilarious, and that's what worries me. Because Chris Christie's a street fighter, so you're never going to worry. He's a Jersey guy, so he's just going to be a pain in the ass the entire election cycle. And apparently, according to him, he has qualified for the debate.
That's mind blowing.
Yeah,
who
I don't
are
know.
the 40,000.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. He said
they're doing all these weird deals where if you donate $1, they're giving you like $10. I know Doug Burgum's giving like $50 gas cards if you donate $1 just to count as one of the 40,000. It's like, how is this not against
bribery?
That's what it feels like, bribery or against the law.
I say it all the time. Elect me, and I'm going to forgive your college debt. What? That's a bribe, bro. Elect me and I'll give you $40,000. Like, that's a bribe.
Yeah, for sure. And, just like going back on like how we're spending this money everywhere, the one question I just wish somebody would ask all these people that keep voting for sending money overseas is, not even Biden, let's not say when he took office, but since we started sending money to Ukraine, has anything got better in our country?
Nope.
No. But Ukraine, they're thriving. They're supposedly in this war, and you see videos on their streets. They're partying. Their cities look cleaner than ours. You saw what in Philadelphia, we had like these zombies walking down the streets on their drugs, just laying over, walking all bent over. And you see people in Ukraine living the high life. It's like, can we please fix our country first? Because everything has went downhill.
Exactly. I think if we put that $180 billion into Kensington in Philadelphia, which is like, I watch videos of that neighborhood in Philadelphia and I cry. I'm like, well, why are we allowing people to live like this? I remember when I was in downtown Seattle, beautiful. Mount Rainier in the background, said the Space Needle, the guy who throws the fish. It was like it was gorgeous. And across the street was people literally overdosing on the street. And I was like, how what aren't we doing here? What are we missing? There's got to be something that can be done for these people. And this is not like a white black thing. This is all over the place. It's Long Island. It's Appalachia. It's the Pacific Northwest, Portland. It is everywhere. This is happening all over the place. And for some reason, we don't have anyone on the Democratic side and many on the Republican side willing to just admit that we have a very serious problem. I mean, I'm 33. I'll be 34 in a week. Oh, no. Oh, 34. Jeez. But my whole generation got poisoned by pharmaceutical companies, and they're never going to pay. They're never going to pay. But they all got paid, though. Oh, every one of them. Every one of them handing out, Roxy's to guys who had knee surgeries, turned them into heroin addicts. I put, I don't know, 40 people I went to high school with in the ground out of a class of 500, 40 kids that aren't going to be at high school reunions, that aren't going to have kids, that aren't going to grow up. And no one seems to care. And you would think this administration would understand that. You would think this administration would have tackled the issue of drug abuse just based on Hunter Biden. And look, I got a lot of critiques about Hunter Biden. I think he's corrupt. I think he's useless. But I would not wish drug abuse on any person on planet Earth. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. Because if you've ever had to live through it, you know it is the single worst thing on planet Earth. You would think this Biden administration would have actually went to tackle drug abuse. Because, look, Joe Biden would be up 15 points in the polls if he had a big drug initiative and came out and said, look, I know what this is all about. Hell, make Hunter the face of it if he really is clean.
No.
Like, you know what I mean? Look, I had a drug problem, and now I want to save a generation. He'd be up 15 points in the poll, and he'd walk to re-election. But they just don't care. So that's
he wouldn't get any of his money from the pharmaceutical companies, though, anymore. So
there you go. That's what it is. And, like, that's the stuff that matters to people. You know, nobody cares about DEI initiatives in the military. They care that their nephew is strung out on the street. They care that, gas is going to keep going up. It's going to hit $4 a gallon by the end of the summer. That's what they care about. But out-of-touch liberals don't get that. Because if you live on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, you don't drive. So gas doesn't affect you.
Yeah, I got to say, my gas is up around $4.87 now in downtown Chicago.
What?
It's brutal, yep. And that's actually down a little bit, but yep.
Well, I mean, I guess you're lucky to be able to get gas and not get killed at the gas station. Somebody said, I think it was a couple of years ago, they said that one winter, it was the first winter in like 100 years that it didn't snow in Chicago. And they said that's because all the snowflakes got shot before they hit the ground.
Yeah, they call it Chirac for a reason.
Yeah, it's like, but like I said, and like, what's that, 120 years of Democratic rule?
Yep.
You elect Beetlejuice as your mayor, and when she sucks, you elect someone somehow worse. It's like they didn't hold an election. They held a contest. Who could be shittier, Lori Lightfoot or this guy?
It's
Yep.
rough living there, Danny. I feel bad for you. But Kevin, what are your thoughts? Should we send Kevin out to do some street interviews in Chicago?
Oh, no. I don't
I feel like he could get some great interviews, some perspective there that we just don't have here.
I will if I can if I can find one guy in Chicago. His name's Jesse Smollett.
Oh, that guy.
Oh, I've
Yeah.
heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen him
yeah.
before.
I'll just wave a pepperoni and cheese Subway sandwich around and he'll come running.
Well, you have to wait though until it's like negative 40 degrees out
Yo,
before
yo, let me tell you, I've been to Chicago once, man. That is a level of cold that I'm just not okay with. That's like penguin level of cold.
That's crazy.
Dude, I was sitting at Wrigley Field going, all right, I saw it. I can go home now. Like,
Your Mets lose when
Yeah,
you were
going
yeah,
going to Wrigley Field.
of course they lost. What are you doing, the Mets? Of course they lost.
Hey, I have to say right now they're up 7-1 on the Cardinals, but
Well, the Mets just something we don't care about, and something that the Democrats don't care about is human trafficking and
No, they don't.
the Sound of Freedom movie that they're trying to bury and not let people talk about. I don't know if you guys have even seen the videos of all these movie theaters just magically fire alarms going off, air conditioning not working, the lights messing up where they're it really seems like they're not trying to let people see this movie. So Kevin, I know you actually cried when you saw the movie. I heard that on
I
your
did.
show.
I did cry.
I'm not going to even make fun of you for it because it was a very serious movie, but any other movie I would have made fun of you for, so we're going to let that one pass. But
Well, no, I think it's the fact that everyone knows a 7-year-old.
yeah.
And to think that that this is like even that the fact that organizations like Underground Railroad, like some of these organizations, don't have the funding they need, but we can fund, you know, diversity initiatives in Pakistan. Like what? Like I'm not saying that overseas initiatives are not important. What I'm saying is that if your house is on fire, put out your house first before you try to put out the fires all over town. And I think that if we're gonna do something overseas, this should be the first thing we do. And this isn't they tried to label it like some QAnon movie, which was bullshit. Like we all know this happens, and this just highlighted it. And you know what? I do find it interesting that the air conditioning didn't go out not once in the Barbie movie.
Hmm.
So it's like, we could fix this.
Yeah.
And I don't even get all conspiratorial like that. I think that there is a serious problem when you tell the truth in this country. I think that a lot of people like to live with their head in the sand. And that's what I try to do on my show. I try to tell people that, when I go out and I do speaking events and wherever I'm at, I try to tell people that you have to keep saying what is true. A man can't be a woman. Human trafficking is real. Joe Biden is not cognitively there. If they are able to get you to say something to be false, 2 + 2 does not equal 5. They will get you to say anything. And once they do that, that's the ball game. So it is interesting to see how the Sound of Freedom continues to make money, even with the summer blockbusters being out there, Oppenheimer and the Barbie movie, which was just nothing more than a feminist diatribe. But
it looks like the gayest movie I've ever seen.
Well, Shapiro did a 45-minute long review of it, and this sounds like he was like, okay, take the politics out of it. This is the single worst movie ever made. He's like, the story doesn't make sense. The writing is terrible. And now let's get into the politics. Apparently, like 10 times in the movie, they explicitly talk about like the negatives of the patriarchy. And this one girl in the movie talks about, like, yells at Barbie because she is like the embodiment of the evil capitalist system. And it's like, bro, it's a movie for 9-year-olds. It's a Barbie movie. What are we doing? Like, you know what? And it could have been funny. They could have made like the movies we had when I was a kid. Like Aladdin and things like that. They were bad kids movies, but they had funny adult jokes in it. And like now as an adult, I watch them, I'm like, what the hell did he just say? and I laughed my ass off, like, but they ruined it. And it is wild when you would just to say what is true, that the Barbie movie sucks and that The Sound of Freedom is one of the more important films we were. And I hope that the proceeds from this are able to go towards more projects to expose this. Look, if we can't keep kids safe, then what the hell are any of us doing here?
Yeah, nobody cares
Now,
about gas prices or anything. That's what's
yeah.
important to kids. So
Now at Ohio State, I obviously run into a lot of students, and the main thing that I get from them, other than them being scared about speaking up and getting involved, other than about them, obviously they're scared about getting exposed and doxxed and all that, but a lot of them say it's also just too depressing. They don't want to get into it because they basically have already given up. It's too depressing. They don't want to really know about it. They'd rather just live with, as you said, their head in the sand, and then whatever happens, happens. What would you say to students like that, or like how you would get more students involved, or just speak to the youth in general on something like that?
Well, the big thing to get more people involved, I think, is to show them that being a Republican, being a conservative, having America First values is fun. Um, I grew up in the era of Bill O'Reilly, Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh, who seemed like they were really boring. Like they were stodgy and old, and like they never had a drink in their lives. You know, uh, we have to change that mindset because the old thing: if you're not a liberal when you're 20, you don't have a heart. If you're not a conservative when you're 30, you don't have a brain. Well, you know what? We're running out of the older generation to sustain those sort of numbers, and that's why I think things like Turning Point USA does such a great job. I mean, I'm sure when I eventually when I make it out to Ohio State with you guys, we will have a party and we will go out afterwards and we will have fun and we will show your new members that that it is fun to be a Republican. I'm not talking about going nuts and acting a fool and being crazy. However, there is a sort of NASCAR sort of feel that I say to the new right, this new populism that's coming up. That you can have fun. That if you go to a country music concert or a NASCAR event, it's more like that than this sort of old, boring cigar lounge with 80-year-olds twisting their mustaches, talking about how they can take over the universe. And as far as them worrying about being doxxed and stuff, I would tell them that it's never as bad as you think it is. You know, if you get some kind of controversy about you, give it 2 weeks and it'll go away. And don't let them win. And that I think that a lot of it, particularly for young people, for high school kids and college kids, is that they think they're alone. And I'm sure, you're on a big ass campus, Ohio State. But if you went to Stony Brook, like I went to, that's got 10% the student body, you might be alone. But that's why it's important to find outside organizations because nobody wants to be not invited to the college parties because you might be a Republican or, everybody wants to enjoy their college experience. But I think that if you don't handle it now, it's only going to get worse. We didn't handle this in 2015, 2016. We allowed those leftists at Berkeley to burn down a city over Ben Shapiro, maybe the most milquetoast, butter soft bitch on planet Earth. Like, ooh, yeah, 5'7", 140-pound Ben Shapiro. Like, ooh, he's a real danger to you. We didn't nip that in the bud when it happened. And we all said, oh, well, you know what? When they get out of school, the real world's going to smack them in the face. And that didn't happen. They got out of school and they got jobs at the New York Times and at Bud Light and at Warner Brothers and at Target and at Fox News. And they just let their views metastasize like cancer. And if you don't take care of cancer, the moment you find out, it will kill you. It's only a matter of time. And this will kill us. China right now is laughing their asses off. Russia is laughing their asses off. If we got invaded by aliens tomorrow, there would be an entire subset of our population worrying about which pronoun to give them. Not thinking, holy shit, aliens just came down. They'd go, well, we wouldn't want to misgender them. as they, come through like Independence Day and blow up all of our cities.
Yeah. Like you were saying, like to have fun in the older generation. That's what I'm really focusing on because, like you were saying, Danny, how people are scared to get involved with this human trafficking. The older generation cared about tax cuts, gas prices, and the stuff, that we really don't care about now. Like, yeah, it's great to have lower gas prices, but that doesn't matter when human trafficking is the fastest growing crime crisis. Like I say this every week, so everybody's got to do their part, whatever that might be, in these big catastrophes that are going on. So, like, we here on the Rhino Show, I mean, that human trafficking has been one of the biggest things we've talked about for over the last year. It's the events we sponsor, it's what I like to donate to, and it's what we like to talk about. Everybody's got their part, and we all need to contribute. We can't be scared to speak out and do something because we might be alone. Yeah, you might be alone, but we all have to contribute to make change, and that's what we need to do now more than ever.
Oh, absolutely. And I think particularly if you're young, like maybe don't dive into the most culturally relevant thing, but there's something you can do.
Yeah.
And look, there's nothing, volunteer your time. Go to a food bank. Go hand out food in some impoverished area. And it don't matter where you live, they exist. And just doing that makes you feel better. It's a hell of a lot better than, working off a hangover because you went to like some college party. Like, I went to them all. I promise you, nothing good happens after midnight. Like, it is. I wish I could go back to my 20s and fix the stupid crap that I did. And now we have the ability to tell people that, look, you're going to live a better life if you add some virtue to it, if you add some meaning to it. And I think that's why I love what Turning Point USA has done, because it showed people you guys age or in your early 20s that you're not alone, that you're not alone. And I think I think it's great. And I know how big your chapter is in Ohio State. I was joking around. I was like, I only know 2 people that have gone to Ohio State, and they both made the pros. So when I come out there, hopefully that's number 3. Yeah, there was a girl I went to high school with. She played basketball at Ohio State. She got drafted into the WNBA. And Jeremy Recker he was a tight end at Ohio State. Just got drafted by the Jets, so his career is over. But he's from my neighborhood also. Yeah, look, hometown guy gets to go to the Jets. That's pretty cool. I mean,
is it?
Yeah, he was a monster at Ohio State. He was like 5-star everything.
Yeah, I was friends with his cousin growing up, and needless to say, he was not the same size.
Yeah. So, this year at Ohio State, actually, I'm also running for student body president. Basically to show people that basically I'm their voice. They're not alone, and that I'm not really afraid of them, because Ohio State's had a lot of doxing and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I've been doing that to kind of show people basically that you don't have to be afraid of them, because I don't really care what they do to me. I know that I'm standing on the right side and on the side of truth. So yeah, that's just.
They're just bullies, and they never do anything alone. There's always 80 of them, and they're a small voice in a crowd. And when they get stood up to by one, look, we've all seen these videos on colleges. One person sitting there speaking, and they're all chanting and hooting and hollering, and they just go, "You look like idiots. You look like clowns." The entire internet is going to see this, and they're all going to see you, and they're going to go, "Wow, those people over there, they're all dumbasses. They're an embarrassment. Your mother's going to see this, and what is she going to think?" And once you start breaking them down with comedy, like I gave a speech one time. I don't even know where I was. I was like, look, I will answer any of your questions if you can answer me one question. And they kind of calmed down a little bit. And I just went, why are you all so ugly? And the place, they lost their minds. People who were there to see me, they lost it. We laughed. Because it's like, once you get them out of their comfort zone, these kids have never been told no before. So why would they ever assume that they're wrong now? And when I say stuff like that, it is important that if a person wants to be irrational, you be irrational back. Because you cannot, if you've ever tried, I use the analogy like drunk people. You ever try to get a drunk person to go home? Yeah. It's impossible, because they're ready to go. You gotta get in the car, stupid. You got to be a little bit aggressive with them to get them home.
Hmm.
That's these idiot liberals. You got to be aggressive back to them because if they're gonna hoot and holler, yell back. Like there was there was a protest against me out here on Long Island, so I went to it. I'm holding my little sign up.
Did they spot you?
No, I was wearing a mask and sunglasses. But like it was great. Like it was hilarious. They achieved nothing, and I had a great day.
Oh
You
boy,
know,
that sounds like fun.
as a matter of fact, I gave I gave my statement to the press in a text message at the protest. I saw the guy texting me. But like, I think that because then you show people that the emperor really does have no clothes. These people have nothing behind them except what they perceive as moral virtue, and really they don't even have that. So when you break them down, you just don't comply with them. Don't accept their premise. No, you are not a woman. You're not. You're just a really, really ugly guy. Like, I'm sorry. You're just a butch chick. You're not a man. Go play softball. Like, people have made great careers off being an athletic woman. They've made phenomenal careers.
Hmm.
But don't sit there and tell me that Serena Williams is going to beat Novak Djokovic. It just ain't going to happen. Like, I'm sorry. It's just not. Once they get you to admit things are false, they can convince you of anything. So don't ever let them do it.
Yeah, you can't back down. You can't bend that knee because it doesn't end like you said.
That's it. I mean, just look at all these mayors and cops during the Black Lives Matter protests. They all took the knee. They all put their little fist up. Did it stop?
Nope.
Nope. Didn't stop. All they did was laugh. Don't ever apologize. Don't ever back down. Don't ever bend the knee because they'll never be happy. Because this leftism we're seeing is a religion. The only difference is most religions have the concept of repentance. You can be forgiven for what you have done wrong. In leftism, you can't do that. Kevin Hart got accused of some nonsense way back when. They said, if you don't apologize, we're going to take the Oscars away from you. So he said, I'm not apologizing. They took the Oscars away, and then he went on TV and apologized for a month. Like, they don't. Just saying you're sorry is it because the only way to say you're sorry is to admit you've done something wrong. But if I make a joke about a race, religion, gender that is not mine, that's not anything wrong. It's a joke.
Yep.
Get over it. Get over it. We've all done it. Everyone's done it in their private lives, some in their public lives. Just say, yeah, I said it. Get over it.
Exactly. And
Yeah, and a great analogy. James O'Keefe spoke last year at Ohio State. I know you guys know James very well too. And he was asked a question of like, why do you cut up your tapes or whatever? And he goes, well, no matter even if I gave you the full tape, you'd say, well, you cut it up. You're missing something. You know, they would always say you're missing something anyways. So it's not worth bending the knee to them in the first place.
Don't ever do it.
It's never going to be enough.
It's never going to be enough, ever. And you watch these organizations, they pander. Oh, we're going to donate. We're going to donate X amount of money to the Matthew Shepard Foundation for Pride Month. Well, why did you do it for a gay organization and not a lesbian organization? Why did you do it for trans and not for non-binary people? They're never going to be happy. So you know what? The hell with all of them.
Yeah, I've never seen people win so much because, I mean, the left does win, whether they win through bad ways or not. I've never seen people win so much and be so miserable. Mm-hmm. It's almost like the more they win, the more miserable they get.
Because they don't ever stop pushing. There is one institution in America that the left does not control, and it's the internet. And that is why they go after it so hard. That's why they hate Elon Musk. That's why they hate Rumble. And that's why they hate the Sound of Freedom. Because the Sound of Freedom was pushed by influencers. It was pushed by Shapiro and Bongino and Tim Pool and Shoe on Head and all these people. Influencers pushed that movie. They all said, you have to go see the Sound of Freedom. We all went to see it. So what do they have to do? They've got to change the internet now. They've got to shut it down because we can now see with the rise of the influencer podcast culture, they no longer have the access to the TV. Your age is cutting that off. You can go, look, that's not what they said. This is what they said.
Yep.
And show people on the phone. So what do they got to do? They got to shut the internet down. They got to censor people. The FBI's got to call Twitter and tell them that they got to take down Jack Posobiec because he's just too influential. Like, they got to take down James O'Keefe. Why? Why do we got to take down James O'Keefe? Because he's showing videos of people saying stuff. Look at how they went after Libs of TikTok. She doesn't even say anything. All she does is repost other people's videos. She got to go. Because that stuff can't be seen.
Nope. Unbelievable. Actually, it's very believable. So.
Yeah. Well, that's what Democrats do.
Yeah. Censorship in every way. So, but I do want to congratulate you on the little protest you had. I know it was a little while ago, but that's how you know you really made it. So until we all have a protest against us, we got to live up to Kevin's standards. Danny, we got to do something here.
Yeah.
Well, I promise. If you run, I promise you, you run for student body president, I'll come out. I'll come out and campaign for you. I'll see if I can
You know what? That may be the perfect time. We'll have you out then. That would be
look, I mean, you got to figure. I'll be out there with the network for sure, covering Trump rallies and stuff. So we will have fun with that. I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure he'll be somewhere near Ohio State because that's a pretty big area. But we got to see if we can get him to fill the Ohio State arena.
Yeah, they'd never let him on. That's the problem.
Never. We'll just walk in there with 200,000 people and go, you can't stop us.
Joe Biden was at Ohio State University last fall, and 11 people showed up on a campus of, I think it's like 70,000 students.
Yeah.
We literally had 11 people show up. If Trump showed up, we could fill up the football stadium, which holds 120,000 people.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, just look at Ohio in the last couple of years. I mean, it went from a reliably purple state to now like Democrats aren't even trying there anymore. I mean, they're like, I'm done. JD Vance took it 10 points. And the difference there is that Ohio didn't have the blue, at least in my opinion, didn't have the blue state influx of Arizona, Nevada, Florida. Because I'll name you 80 guys off the top of my head that left New York and went to Florida and all voted for DeSantis. So I want to go, DeSantis, did you switch voters or did you gain voters simply by not being Kathy Hochul?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that ain't hard to do. Not be Kathy Hochul. But, he wants to say that I took it from a 0.1 state to a 20-point state. And it's like, no, dude, you gained what? 1 million Republicans from Pennsylvania, from New York, from Connecticut, from New Jersey.
Yep.
All the people that didn't want to live under COVID lockdowns, all the people that didn't want to pay taxes, all the 60-year-olds who said, what the hell am I still doing living here? All the people who didn't want to be in New York City because they didn't want to get shot on the subway. We're like, yeah, I'll just go, I'll go down to Florida and then I'll vote for him down there. That's why Lee Zeldin lost, because 400,000 New Yorkers left.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, like, I don't blame him for leaving, but, like, I do in a way. Like, we don't win these battles if everybody just flees to their little safe haven, which is Florida. So, like, we need people to stick it out and not just be like, oh, Florida's nice. Like I get it. It's nice down there. I don't blame him for leaving. But, like, we need people to stay and fight for the states that you're from.
100%, And look, it's possible to do. And if people don't think it matters, look at Michigan. Or is it Michigan or Minnesota? I think it might be Michigan. I think they have 46 Democrats and 45 Republicans. You flip one seat, you change the entire state.
Mm-hmm.
One seat, the entire state flips. You mean to tell me we can't pump $1 million into the closest district there and win that one? That changes an entire state over. That stops child mutilation. That stops abortion. That gives us everything we want. That stops redistricting to district out Republicans. Claudia Tenney, Congresswoman from Binghamton, New York, around that area. In 2020, she won by like 78 votes. Lauren Boebert, one of our biggest fighters, won by 538 votes. I worked for a guy that lost by 314 votes. So people want to say their vote doesn't matter, the election's rigged, this, that, and the third. That's bullshit. You stay, you fight, and you bring out as many votes as you can, because some might come down to 100 votes, some might come down to 200. If 539 people don't come out to vote in the entirety of California, of Colorado too, Lauren Boebert's not in Congress.
Yep. So yeah, every vote matters. You gotta do your part.
And then I think we'd all lose out on something, not having Lauren Boebert in Congress.
Oh man, yeah. So once again, do your part. Get out and vote. Every legal vote matters.
Absolutely,
legal.
Yeah,
legal.
Look, if ballot harvest where it's, I'll ballot harvest where it's legal, early vote where it's legal. Go to the old folks' home and ask if any of them need a ride to the polls. That's how you vote more than once.
For sure.
Like, just go in there and be, hey, I'm volunteering my time to drive old people to the polls so they can vote.
Yeah. So going along with that. So this is a little local, basically, what does everybody have to do to make sure that Trump gets back into office? Like local in your community, statewide, not just New York, just like what should everybody look for or do to make sure that we get the orange man bad, back into office?
Well, what
just like Republicans in general.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I would say is that if you live in a solidly red area, push your Republicans to be better. If they're capable of a 10 and they're giving you a 6, ask them why. But moreover, what I would say is go into your neighboring communities. If you live in Florida, which is, solidly red, there are places in Florida that are not. If you live outside of Orlando, drive the half hour to go to Orlando and knock doors. We need that. They need to help everywhere. Find someone you like and go help them. Whether it's a school board candidate right the way up to a governor. They need help. Moreover, posting on Twitter does not get you votes. You want votes, go get them. Go out and get them. We live in a world that is far too much online, and people think that shit posting on memes translates into votes. And I post more memes than any other person on planet Earth. But guess what? It just doesn't. You got to go out. You got to knock the doors. You got to do the hard work. You got to register voters. You want to know how to do that? Call Scott Pressler. Message him on Facebook. He will answer you, and he will come to your neighborhood, and he will show you how to do this. It's a republic, if we can keep it, as Franklin once said.
Yeah, and I want to also stress on one point. If you're going to donate to these candidates, make sure you do it directly to them and not to the GOP, because that
100%.
fails us every single time.
100%. You need to donate to your candidates and not to the parties, because the parties will give it to the candidates they want, not to the candidates that you want.
Yeah, and we see that every single election cycle. These rhinos are getting. We're giving money to rhinos to just beat other conservatives, America First conservatives, instead of actually electing people so we can take the majority. We're feeding this money to complete losers so they beat out the America First candidates, so they can still, so the heads ups, they can sit there and control these loser puppets that they want in.
100%. That's what we have to do.
So, let me see if I get this right real quick, Kevin. So, Loud Majority USA for all your hats and shirts, right?
Absolutely. You can go to loudmajorityusa.com, sign up for our newsletter, check out our shop. That's the best way to support everything we've got going on over here. It is election season pretty much in most local areas. So if anybody wants to get involved, if you're on the island, if you're anywhere in New York, contact me. I can get you in touch with people, or support your local organizations. They're out there. They are 100% out there, and they need help. You just have to go looking for them.
For sure. Let's all do our part. Let's all save the country that we love, because we can't sit here and complain. We actually got to do something about it. So,
absolutely.
Kevin, I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks, Kevin. Wish you a happy early birthday.
Oh, Jesus, my back hurts already now. Yeah, no, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Kevin, go ahead, go check out your MySpace. But the rest of y'all, we'll see y'all next week. See you guys.
Have a good one.